This woman is incredible. After witnessing her husband's infidelity, her response was, "You shouldn't have been caught." She then continued to play the role of a loving wife, making others envious. Her temperamental mother-in-law disliked her and threw a newspaper at her. In retaliation, the woman pushed all the cups off the table, startling her mother-in-law. The woman, named Oh Wan-soo, was a former golf player who married into a wealthy family and served as a Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations. Her main job was fundraising to help innocent civilians harmed by war. Recently, a little girl became the beneficiary of Oh Wan-soo's aid. After terrorists killed the girl's family and took her, she was fortunately rescued. Oh Wan-soo found her a lawyer, gathered evidence, and took the terrorists to international court. Upon hearing this, the terrorists sent threatening emails to Oh Wan-soo. Despite personal safety threats, she continued her schedule and traveled to Manila to persuade tycoons to donate. A charity auction was approaching. Oh Wan-soo went to a jewelry store to pick up a necklace she ordered to auction off. Just as she left the store, a gunman nearby aimed at her. Gunshots rang out, hitting a person next to her and splattering blood on Oh Wan-soo, terrifying her. A man with a pistol, named Seo Do-yoon, came to her aid, called her by name and helped her escape. They successfully drove away. Seo Do-yoon, a former police officer from Korea, had come to Manila with a friend 3 months earlier. Unfortunately, his friend was murdered by a masked killer. Arriving at the scene, Seo Do-yoon heard the killer say, "The flowers have been delivered to the florist," while his dying friend mentioned a photo. To investigate his friend's murder, Seo Do-yoon stayed in the city, gathering information. Before rescuing Oh Wan-soo, he was at a casino where he overheard thugs talk about a killer named L, who had murdered a Korean police officer months ago, referring to Seo Do-yoon's friend. The thugs mentioned a boss, and Seo Do-yoon, disguised as a janitor, entered the boss's office. There, a man carrying a bag of money arrived, recognized by Seo Do-yoon in the mirror as his acquaintance, Senior Park. Park also mentioned a florist's delivery. Recalling the killer's words about the florist, Seo Do-yoon learned from the thugs that killer L was about to act on Luxury Street. Armed, he rushed to the location and coincidentally saved the attacked Oh Wan-soo. Seo Do-yoon took her to his place to hide, avoiding anyone tracking their escape route. Oh Wan-soo wanted to call the police, but Seo Do-yoon pointed out that there might be moles inside the police, making it dangerous to reveal their location. Oh Wan-soo had no choice but to relent. After arriving home, Seo Do-yoon bandaged his wounds. Oh Wan-soo came over to help and asked how he knew her. Seo Do-yoon explained that she was a famous golfer and that all of Korea knew her. He then handed her a towel to wipe the blood off her face. Oh Wan-soo went to the bathroom but tripped and was caught by Seo Do-yoon, whose gentle action made her heart flutter. Later, Seo Do-yoon took her to the embassy, where her husband picked her up. On the way, he scolded her for coming here despite threats from terrorists. Oh Wan-soo was too exhausted to respond. At night, alone, she kept recalling how Seo Do-yoon had protected her, cherishing his care and sympathy, a tenderness she had not felt in a long time. Meanwhile, Seo Do-yoon touched the scar from a kidney transplant surgery given to him by a friend. As a witness, he had written a statement about the incident. Park, responsible for Oh Wan-soo's safety, read it and recognized Seo Do-yoon's name. Park knew Seo Do-yoon and invited him to meet. Learning about the ordeal, Park invited Seo Do-yoon to join his team, working for The Florist, a nickname for the Hwan Group, Oh Wan-soo's family business. To investigate his friend's death, Seo Do-yoon agreed. The next day, against her husband's wishes and despite the danger, Oh Wan-soo held a press conference, admitting she was attacked and threatened, but vowing to fight against the evil forces. After the press, she prepared for a party hosted by her family's foundation. Recognizing Seo Do-yoon among the bodyguards, she calmed herself and entered the venue with her husband to applause. Facing the guests, she remembered her past. Years ago, her mother was a caddy at a golf course and was mistreated by Oh Wan-soo's future mother-in-law, a spoiled heiress. After being fired, her mother stole a golf club and encouraged Oh Wan-soo to start playing golf. Oh Wan-soo practiced tirelessly and showed great talent. Despite financial struggles, she left school and high school to work as a caddy and support herself. Her mother, seeing professional players earn well in the US, supported her going abroad. Oh Wan-soo did not disappoint, winning 20 championships in 10 years and making it into the Hall of Fame. Oh Wan-soo became a professional golfer, and earned more than 10 billion Korean won in prize money. Unfortunately, her gambling-addicted mother squandered all the money. Out of desperation, Oh Wan-soo cut ties with her mother and donated her subsequent earnings to charity. This marked the beginning of her involvement in philanthropy. At the event, Oh Wan-soo was busy interacting with guests when a child approached her, feeling sleepy and wanting to sleep. She went to find the child's sister, who was supposed to be looking after him. To her surprise, she found her husband cheating with the sister. "Sister, it's not what you think," they said. However, Oh Wan-soo was not surprised. She had known about her husband's infidelity for some time. Her immediate concern was that they avoid being spotted by reporters outside to prevent public embarrassment. After leaving the room, she still held her husband's hand and pretended to be a loving couple in public. Only Seo Do-yoon, who was close to Oh Wan-soo, noticed their strained relationship. After the party, Oh Wan-soo was still unsettled when her mother-in-law, already aware of her son's affair, expressed surprise at Oh Wan-soo's deep strategizing for not seeking a divorce. The mother-in-law struck Oh Wan-soo with a newspaper in anger. In response, Oh Wan-soo calmly pushed away the cups on the table. Despite the turmoil, she continued her charitable activities to protect the family's wealth, determined not to leave her marriage easily. Her mother-in-law, furious, threatened to kill Oh Wan-soo someday. That night, feeling distressed, Oh Wan-soo went to a bar alone to drink away her sorrows. She recalled meeting her husband at a charity event where they had volunteered in Africa for 10 days. Before leaving, he proposed directly, and they were eager to marry. At that time, Oh Wan-soo did not anticipate the difficulties this marriage would bring. Her first meeting with her mother-in-law was challenging, but Oh Wan-soo handled it with strength, acknowledging her humble beginnings, but crediting her success to her own efforts, not reliance on others. Then, her mother-in-law tried to intimidate her by claiming to have killed her son's ex-girlfriend, which scared Oh Wan-soo. However, it turned out to be a joke. After some discussion, the mother-in-law agreed to let Oh Wan-soo marry into the family and even promised to provide an expensive wedding dress. But then, she handed a prenuptial and confidentiality agreement to Oh Wan-soo's brother to sign, offering him a job on the condition that he tell Oh Wan-soo that he and their mother had settled abroad. Afterward, Oh Wan-soo successfully married into the wealthy family, beginning a 12-year-long marriage that reached today's troubled state. At that moment, Seo Do-yoon, who happened to be passing by, saw Oh Wan-soo drunk. Initially, he did not want to intervene, but after thinking it over, he decided to return. Oh Wan-soo staggered out of the bar, and Seo Do-yoon followed her to her room door. Oh Wan-soo scattered the contents of her bag on the ground while searching for her room key. Seo Do-yoon stepped forward to help her pick everything up. Looking at his back, Oh Wan-soo asked, "Should I just sleep with you tonight? Do you want to sleep with me?" Seo Do-yoon did not respond but supported her as they entered the room together when she nearly fell. Alone in the room, the two faced each other. Seo Do-yoon knew Oh Wan-soo was drunk and was about to leave when her husband knocked on the door. Oh Wan-soo pulled Seo Do-yoon back, preventing him from opening the door. Her husband noticed the room key outside and became suspicious. Director Park appeared just in time, explaining that Oh Wan-soo was drunk and had accidentally dropped her room key. Her husband's doubts were allayed, and he left. Director Park then slid the room key under the door, averting a crisis. Seo Do-yoon left with mixed feelings. Oh Wan-soo changed into her pajamas, also feeling conflicted. After that night, Oh Wan-soo began to pay more attention to Seo Do-yoon. Upon returning home, Seo Do-yoon moved into Oh Wan-soo's in-laws' mansion with the bodyguard team. While tidying up, Seo Do-yoon accidentally knocked over a photo frame with a picture of him and a friend. Remembering his friend's last words about a photo, he examined the frame and found a memory card inside. The card contained videos from surveillance cameras showing Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law being wheeled out covered with a white sheet. At that moment, Seo Do-yoon realized there might be more to the father-in-law's death, which is why his friend had left the video as evidence. Chaebol families are truly chaotic. This man has 2 wives at the same time. The younger wife wants to use her son to improve her status and become the main wife. The elder wife, seeing through her ambitions, took everyone by surprise. The illegitimate child you heard about through rumors is actually the son of my late father-in-law. Seo Do-yoon was in Manila investigating his friend's murder when he coincidentally saved a wealthy lady, Oh Wan-soo, from a terrorist attack. Afterwards, he was invited to become her bodyguard. Back in the country, Seo Do-yoon accidentally found a memory card hidden by his friend. It contained surveillance videos showing Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law being wheeled out covered with a white sheet. Seo Do-yoon suspects foul play in his death. He believes the murderer of his friend and the attacker of Oh Wan-soo might be the same person. Concerned for Oh Wan-soo's safety, he decides to protect her at all costs. From now on, don't trust anyone. Stay by my side. I will protect you. Oh Wan-soo is conflicted, unsure whether to trust Seo Do-yoon. At night, Seo Do-yoon looks at a photo of himself with his friend, lost in memories. 2 years ago, Seo Do-yoon and his friend were both guards. Seo Do-yoon was assigned to the Blue House to protect the president, while his friend was assigned to the police department's intelligence division. The police chief demanded that Seo Do-yoon report the details of the president's meetings with businessmen and their discussions. His friend was tasked with investigating these businessmen and where their secret funds flowed. All findings had to be reported directly to the chief. During the investigation, his friend discovered that the Hwan Group had hired a gang called the Baksing Gang to launder money. With the sudden death of Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law, the honorary chairman of the Hwan Group, murder was suspected. To delve deeper into the money laundering and the true cause of death, his friend went to Manila alone. The Baksing Gang's headquarters and their illegal casino were there. Unexpectedly, his friend was killed in Manila. Unable to bear his friend's wrongful death, Seo Do-yoon went to Manila to uncover the truth, which is also why he was at the scene of the attack and saved Oh Wan-soo. In fact, Oh Wan-soo was also aware of the Hwan Group's involvement in money laundering. Now she no longer wants her managed consortium to be a tool for laundering family business money. She intends to make the consortium independent, free from her mother-in-law and husband's interference. When she shared this idea with her mother-in-law, she faced the terrorist attack, unable to implement her plan immediately. After sorting out official matters, Oh Wan-soo took the time to meet with her husband's mistress. Even though she had known about her husband's affair and the existence of an illegitimate child, Oh Wan-soo had never thought about divorcing her husband. The mistress was previously her husband's secretary, later bearing his child. However, her husband, notorious for his affairs, had a scandalous encounter with a female artist at a hotel, resulting in the artist's accidental death. To quell the scandal, the mother-in-law favored Oh Wan-soo, who had a good image and was volunteering widely. She encouraged her son to approach Oh Wan-soo with a donation in Africa, using their marriage to cover up the scandal. Meanwhile, the lovers stayed by the husband's side with their illegitimate child, calling each other sisters. "You aren't planning to divorce, are you?" "Yes. Just stay as the second wife forever." Angry, Oh Wan-soo returned home where her mother-in-law, who always disapproved of her, intentionally embarrassed her by declaring she would bring the son's illegitimate child home. Oh Wan-soo firmly opposed this and wanted her husband to send the lover and child abroad to avoid public disgrace. The husband said he would discuss it with his mother first, not committing directly to Oh Wan-soo. Oh Wan-soo thought her in-laws would handle the matter discreetly to save face, but was shocked when the mother-in-law allowed the illegitimate child to enter the country on the day of the family photo shoot. The weak husband wouldn't defy his mother or meet Oh Wan-soo's eyes. The mother-in-law brought up succession issues, as Oh Wan-soo's own child had died years ago, a fact not publicly shared to avoid gossip. Now, with a ready-made child, the mother-in-law eagerly positioned him as the next heir. Resigned to not having more children and unwilling to divorce, Oh Wan-soo had no choice but to accept this unfair arrangement. Her mother-in-law's triumphant smile contrasted sharply with Oh Wan-soo's furious expression during the family photo shoot. Afterward, without Oh Wan-soo's consent, her mother-in-law had her child's room cleared out for the illegitimate child. Furious, Oh Wan-soo drove off alone, nearly having an accident. Concerned for her safety, Seo Do-yoon got into the passenger seat. They drove in silence, and a shoeless Oh Wan-soo walked along the beach. Seo Do-yoon silently followed, keeping an eye on her. After a long walk, he gently wiped the sand off her feet and helped her put her shoes back on. Knowing she shouldn't get too close, Oh Wan-soo advised Seo Do-yoon to stick to his role as a bodyguard. She needed evidence before she could believe his claims that the killer of his friend and her attacker were the same person. After clearing her mind at the beach, Oh Wan-soo arrived at a villa with Seo Do-yoon. Her husband, guessing she would be there, followed. Their relationship was tepid, and he couldn't understand why she kept her distance, yet didn't divorce. He attempted to force intimacy, thinking of having another child with her. Seo Do-yoon intervened as he saw Oh Wan-soo resisting, ensuring her safe departure. They drove away in silence. After Oh Wan-soo left, her husband, frustrated, met up with another woman. The lover was unfazed and showed up at the hotel the next day to find someone. She woke up the sleeping woman saying, "I am his second wife. Now leave." The husband was cold to him, and while the lover persisted, she just wanted to know if Oh Wan-soo was considering having another child. The husband did not respond and left directly. Seo Do-yoon visited the Hwan Group and after finishing his business, reviewed the video left by his friend. He discovered the place where Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law was seen being covered with a white sheet and pushed out was not the Oh Wan-soo's family mansion. Seo Do-yoon was certain that Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law was murdered, and the killer silenced his friend to cover this up. Definitely related to the Hwan Group. After confirming his investigation direction, he began searching for clues in the mansion. While the control room was empty, he copied security footage which showed a large sum of money, about 1 billion Korean won, appearing on Oh Wan-soo's husband's desk, arousing Seo Do-yoon's curiosity. Meanwhile, Oh Wan-soo was confronting her evil mother-in-law. The more her mother-in-law tried to step on her, the more Oh Wan-soo stood firm. She had the servants throw out the new furniture in her child's room and then sealed off the room, refusing anyone entry. The mother-in-law, thinking there were plenty of rooms in the mansion, did not argue with Oh Wan-soo. However, her next move startled Oh Wan-soo. That day, Oh Wan-soo received a resignation speech. Her mother-in-law planned to take over her position as chairperson. Unable to endure further suppression, Oh Wan-soo released rumors about her husband's affair, making him a target for media interviews. As public opinion swelled, the Hwan Group's stock price plummeted. The public, who trusted and liked Oh Wan-soo, naturally criticized the Hwan Group being dragged into the scandal by her useless husband. Confused, her mother-in-law saw Oh Wan-soo seizing the opportunity to propose herself as the successor of the conglomerate, which was strongly opposed. Her mother-in-law demanded Oh Wan-soo keep a low profile and stay at home to avoid more trouble. Though Oh Wan-soo appeared to comply, she actually planned to hold a press conference herself. The next day, Oh Wan-soo went out to entertain with her mother-in-law. Midway, she intentionally sent away her mother-in-law's companions and arrived at the press conference with Seo Do-yoon. In front of many journalists, Oh Wan-soo denied the rumors of her husband's affair and claimed the alleged illegitimate child was actually her deceased father-in-law's son. Watching Oh Wan-soo confidently fabricate stories shocked everyone. Her husband and mother-in-law, after seeing the live broadcast of the press conference, could only let out a few dry laughs. This move caught her mother-in-law off guard. Despite this, her mother-in-law still wanted her to resign from the chairperson position. Oh Wan-soo stood firm, refusing to let her mother-in-law take over the conglomerate. If her mother-in-law pushed hard, she would hold another press conference exposing the Hwan Group's money laundering. Knowing the money laundering could not be exposed, the mother-in-law was easily manipulated by Oh Wan-soo, who welcomed the lover and the illegitimate child into the mansion. Her husband's lover has become another mother-in-law and naturally has the right to live here. The three women live together in a strange relationship. Oh Wan-soo allows the lover and the illegitimate child into the house, maintaining this disgraceful marriage solely to protect the conglomerate for her late father-in-law. Oh Wan-soo was deeply trusted by her father-in-law, who knew of the superficial unity between her and her husband, but still wanted her to stay until the right time to leave. Oh Wan-soo stayed on a mission, willing to pay any price. Seo Do-yoon, feeling sorry for her situation, feared she might meet the same fate as her father-in-law. Seeing Oh Wan-soo's doubtful expression, Seo Do-yoon shared the truth he had discovered. Oh Wan-soo realized that the killer of Seo Do-yoon's friend, who had also attacked her, might be someone within her own home. Despite the dangers, Oh Wan-soo focused on charity work, establishing a welfare center through the conglomerate. The opening ceremony was the same day. Oh Wan-soo and her mother-in-law unexpectedly wore matching outfits and posed closely for photos at the reporter's request, with Oh Wan-soo outshining her mother-in-law. After the ceremony, the mother-in-law vented her anger on the bodyguards in the practice room, knocking them down one by one. When it was Seo Do-yoon's turn, she couldn't touch him. Unlike others, Seo Do-yoon didn't hold back and threw her to the ground with a shoulder throw. The mother-in-law was very satisfied with Seo Do-yoon's attitude and skills and looked forward to challenging him again. After calming her emotions, the mother-in-law called Oh Wan-soo and suddenly mentioned that Oh Wan-soo's mother was in a mental hospital in very poor health, suggesting that Oh Wan-soo and her brother visit her. Shocked by the true whereabouts of her mother, Oh Wan-soo followed her brother to the hospital, resembling a prison. Seo Do-yoon stood guard outside the room and rushed in when he heard Oh Wan-soo scream. The mistress was outrageously bold, not only living under the same roof as the wife but also inviting her own mother. Together, they urged the wife to divorce. Recently, Oh Wan-soo learned from her mother-in-law that her long-lost mother was residing in a psychiatric hospital. Upon visiting, Oh Wan-soo found her mother confused and unrecognizable, only remembering her daughter as a golfer in the US. The mother regretted gambling away her daughter's hard-earned money. Oh Wan-soo always remembered how her debt-ridden mother struggled to buy her a plane ticket to the US to pursue her dream. Seeing her mother's gray hair, Oh Wan-soo wished to make amends, but her mother's life was nearing its end. Before dying, she apologized to Oh Wan-soo, who broke down in tears. Seo Do-yoon came to comfort her, allowing her to vent her emotions. Oh Wan-soo's brother handled the funeral arrangements, allowing her to leave early for a business meeting with her mother-in-law. Despite wanting to attend her mother's funeral, her mother-in-law threatened her over a business deal, forcing Oh Wan-soo to comply. At the meeting, Oh Wan-soo was distracted. After the funeral, her brother gave her the urn. Oh Wan-soo decided to disappear with the urn, turning off their phones and disabling their car's GPS with Seo Do-yoon. Despite their secrecy, someone secretly took photos of them. In front of the trustworthy Seo Do-yoon, Oh Wan-soo showed her vulnerability. Her mother-in-law forbade a public funeral for fear of scandal. Oh Wan-soo had to say goodbye in this manner. Someone captured this moment on camera. Oh Wan-soo and Seo Do-yoon spread her mother's ashes at sea, letting go of past grievances, but not forgiving those who confined her mother. The photos reached her mother-in-law, who kept it from her son. Upon returning, Oh Wan-soo and Seo Do-yoon faced her furious husband and mother-in-law. Her husband, upset about their disappearance, punched Seo Do-yoon, threatening to fire him. The mother-in-law understood Oh Wan-soo's temperament and knew she wouldn't easily dismiss Seo Do-yoon. She didn't voice agreement but privately scolded her son for being overly agitated. This could lead others to suspect something between Oh Wan-soo and Seo Do-yoon, potentially sparking rumors that could tarnish the family's reputation. For the sake of appearances, the mother-in-law instructed Chief Park to let Oh Wan-soo decide Seo Do-yoon's fate. That evening, Oh Wan-soo checked on Seo Do-yoon's injuries. Seo Do-yoon pulled her into his room and confessed his feelings. He had been by her side, aware of the painful life she led in the mansion. If possible, he wished to take her away. However, for Oh Wan-soo, it was more crucial to uncover the conspiracy behind a terrorist attack and its connection to Seo Do-yoon's friend. Seo Do-yoon showed Oh Wan-soo a video left by his friend, indicating that her father-in-law's death was suspicious. The same person might have targeted her father-in-law, intended to kill Oh Wan-soo, and was responsible for his friend's death. They needed to investigate further. Oh Wan-soo trusted Seo Do-yoon and asked him to uncover the truth quickly. She would not let anyone dismiss him before then. While they were speaking, Chief Park knocked. Seo Do-yoon initially wanted Oh Wan-soo to exit through the back door, but she confidently allowed Chief Park in, explaining they were discussing the terrorist incident. After Chief Park left, Seo Do-yoon went out under the cover of night to a casino established by the 8 Stars gang, hoping to meet the manager. The manager, seeing Seo Do-yoon as a stranger on surveillance, refused to meet and sent a screenshot of the video to Chief Park. Disturbed by Seo Do-yoon's appearance at the casino, Chief Park summoned him the next day and questioned his presence there. Chief Park's quick receipt of the news confirmed to Seo Do-yoon that he was linked to the 8 Stars gang and likely knew the cause of his friend and Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law's deaths. Chief Park only revealed that he laundered money for Oh Wan-soo's husband and that her father-in-law died of sudden death during intercourse, secretly returned to the mansion to avoid scandal, and claimed he died of a heart attack. Chief Park noted that serving a Chaebol family often meant surviving in tight spaces. He warned Seo Do-yoon against reckless actions. Seo Do-yoon was determined to continue his investigation and shared everything he learned with Oh Wan-soo that night. Oh Wan-soo suggested Seo Do-yoon also investigate attorney Han, who managed the family and company's secret funds and likely held many secrets. Attorney Han had an affair with Oh Wan-soo's mother-in-law. Years ago, Oh Wan-soo's husband, then a child, witnessed his mother with Attorney Han and worried about his father finding out. The mother-in-law remained calm, knowing her husband was already aware. Watching his mother leave calmly deeply hurt the child. Back to the present. Besides instructing Seo Do-yoon to continue the investigation, Oh Wan-soo also took several actions on her own. She discovered that her mother-in-law planned to collaborate with her younger daughter-in-law's family to launder money using their cosmetics company. Wanting to prevent these illegal activities, Oh Wan-soo deliberately endorsed a product from a competing company when a new line was launched at the cosmetics company, overshadowing the daughter-in-law's company. This caused the daughter-in-law to lose her temper and reveal that she was once a marital match for Oh Wan-soo's husband. Oh Wan-soo listened without any reaction, and the daughter-in-law stormed off. Afterwards, Oh Wan-soo visited a welfare center and spent a wonderful day dining with the children there. On her way back, her vehicle was suddenly attacked by several drones. Seo Do-yoon, observing the danger through the rearview mirror, quickly accelerated to evade the attack. Despite his efforts, one drone hit directly under the vehicle, causing it to be thrown off the road and the occupants to be injured. The remote-controlled drone bombs were deployed by a female bodyguard from the Hwan Group. After ensuring the vehicle's occupants were motionless, the female bodyguard left on a motorcycle. Later, another bodyguard crawled out of the vehicle. When Seo Do-yoon regained consciousness, he rescued Oh Wan-soo from the back seat. Just as they moved away, the car exploded, sending fragments flying into Seo Do-yoon's back. Severely injured, he gently laid Oh Wan-soo on the ground before collapsing himself. The three were rushed to the hospital, where Seo Do-yoon and the other bodyguard were stabilized and no longer in life-threatening condition. Oh Wan-soo, protected by Seo Do-yoon, suffered only minor injuries. As Seo Do-yoon was moved to the ICU, the female bodyguard intended to continue her attack, but was deterred by the surveillance cameras in the hospital. She had to call someone to report the failed mission. The attack on Oh Wan-soo and her companions was widely covered by the media, affecting Hwan Group's stock prices. The mother-in-law enlisted Attorney Han to get the police chief to help suppress the media frenzy, regardless of whether the culprit was caught. However, Seo Do-yoon, not following orders, used his police contacts while still recovering to obtain surveillance footage from near the accident site. Meanwhile, Oh Wan-soo's husband was also concerned about the police investigation and had Chief Park inquire at the police station. Learning the police had found nothing, the husband gave Chief Park a large sum of money to seek help from the 8 Stars gang. Days later, Oh Wan-soo had recovered. The female bodyguard who had attempted to murder her was, under the mother-in-law's arrangement, made Oh Wan-soo's personal bodyguard. Before being discharged, Oh Wan-soo visited Seo Do-yoon. Moved by the man who had risked his life to protect her and feeling indebted, she was touched. Seo Do-yoon asked for nothing more than to continue protecting Oh Wan-soo. Oh Wan-soo tearfully caressed his wounds and was held by Seo Do-yoon, cherishing the brief moment of warmth. After leaving the hospital, Oh Wan-soo immersed herself in work and asked her brother for the consortium's ledgers. Her brother bluntly stated that he only had a tampered version, and the original was with Attorney Han. If the original were exposed, only he and Oh Wan-soo would be scapegoated for safety reasons. He refused to provide Oh Wan-soo with the ledgers, causing her much frustration. Back home, she also had to deal with her lover. That day, her lover and his mother confronted Oh Wan-soo, with the mother urging them to divorce. Oh Wan-soo refused and warned that if her lover did not settle down, she would drive him out and keep his son. Frightened, the lover and his mother dared not challenge Oh Wan-soo's position anymore. Shortly after Oh Wan-soo's discharge, Seo Do-yoon returned to the mansion. Chief Park visited to check on him, and they discussed the suspicious death of Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law again. Learning that Chief Park had once again facilitated a payment to the 8 Stars gang on behalf of Oh Wan-soo's husband, Seo Do-yoon urgently wanted to understand the reasons and pleaded for Chief Park's help in investigating. That night, Oh Wan-soo approached Seo Do-yoon, asking him to retrieve the original consortium ledger from Attorney Han's study. Concerned about the dangers Oh Wan-soo could face by meddling with consortium secrets, Seo Do-yoon tried to dissuade her. Unwilling to wait and lacking leverage against her mother-in-law, Oh Wan-soo insisted, and Seo Do-yoon reluctantly agreed to help. Seo Do-yoon took the opportunity to observe Attorney Han's guest house, which lacked surveillance to conceal identities. Blocked by a large guard dog at the entrance, he cleverly retrieved an item carrying Attorney Han's scent from his car and bypassed the dog. Unaware that the dog's barking had alerted the female bodyguard to his intentions, Seo Do-yoon considered using Attorney Han's fingerprint to enter the house. In the pantry, he found a used cup with a lipstick mark, knowing Attorney Han often used lip balm. Seo Do-yoon copied the fingerprint from the glass onto a special mold to create a faux finger, which helped him unlock the guest house door. Inside, he searched the study and noticed a safe, but didn't know the combination. He installed a surveillance device in an alarm clock facing the safe for clues. After placing his backpack at the door, Seo Do-yoon accidentally shifted a box and discovered the original consortium ledger. Taking the ledger, he left just as Attorney Han, alerted by the female bodyguard, returned and checked the safe for the group's secret financial ledger, relieved it was intact. However, he soon realized the original ledger was missing. Seo Do-yoon immediately went to Oh Wan-soo with the ledger, proposing to keep it for her safety. Unexpectedly, prosecutors arrived with a search and arrest warrant for Oh Wan-soo's brother, accusing him of embezzling consortium assets. Due to the sudden event, Oh Wan-soo became distraught. Seo Do-yoon held her hand gently, comforting her uneasy emotions. Oh Wan-soo's husband walked in, catching this scene, and stared at them in surprise, unable to speak. Oh Wan-soo was visiting her brother, who appeared calm and unafraid of being scapegoated by the Hwan Group, since he also knew the insider details of the secret funds and managed the financial accounts, enough to make the Hwan Group wary. Facing lawyer Han, her brother remained composed, suspecting the search scandal was orchestrated by Oh Wan-soo's brother-in-law. Indeed, the brother-in-law, long overlooked by the family and lacking the inheritance rights like Oh Wan-soo's husband, felt aggrieved. He thought of using this situation to suppress Oh Wan-soo and her husband, aiming to regain what he believed he deserved. Lawyer Han, aware that Oh Wan-soo's brother held critical information about the Hwan Group, promised to bail him out quickly to avoid implicating the group. Privately, he instructed his nephew not to act rashly, leaving the rest to him. Lawyer Han had a solution in mind. Knowing Seo Do-yoon stole the original ledgers, he shifted the blame of reporting Oh Wan-soo's brother to Seo Do-yoon. The mother-in-law, trusting lawyer Han's words, called Oh Wan-soo for questioning and asked her about the stolen intimate photos with Seo Do-yoon. Shocked, Oh Wan-soo admitted she instructed Seo Do-yoon to steal the ledgers, but maintained their innocence. The mother-in-law concluded Seo Do-yoon was manipulative, aiming to get close to the naive Oh Wan-soo, and was furious. Oh Wan-soo worried the mother-in-law might harm Seo Do-yoon and promised to retrieve the ledgers soon. Confused by her mother-in-law's words, Oh Wan-soo confronted Seo Do-yoon, who explained the suspicious content of the ledgers, showing secret funds flowing ostensibly into her and her brother's accounts, implicating them but actually returning to the mother-in-law's control. Seo Do-yoon had to keep the ledgers to confront the mother-in-law while investigating secrets. Oh Wan-soo feared opposing her mother-in-law openly could endanger Seo Do-yoon, who no longer cared for his safety, wishing only to protect Oh Wan-soo. Emotionally, Oh Wan-soo embraced Seo Do-yoon, feeling empowered by him to face any difficulties. Unbeknownst to her, the mother-in-law was plotting against her again. As the news of Oh Wan-soo's brother allegedly misappropriating corporate assets spread, the mother-in-law, worried about the Hwan Group's reputation, plotted with lawyer Han to create a scandal of Oh Wan-soo having an affair, to deflect from the corporation's involvement. The mother-in-law deliberately arranged for Oh Wan-soo and Seo Do-yoon to visit a resort in the countryside to organize the resort's first anniversary event. At the same time, they were to participate in a photo shoot to quell rumors of their divorce and promote Oh Wan-soo's charity work locally. On the day of departure, Seo Do-yoon drove Oh Wan-soo, and they traveled along the coastline. Oh Wan-soo, looking at the beautiful sea, felt her mood lift. Seo Do-yoon caught her scarf just as the wind nearly took it, and carefully tied it back for her. At the scenic seaside, the two embraced joyfully, unaware that a female bodyguard nearby had captured this moment on camera. The The bodyguard followed them to their residence, while lawyer Han delayed Oh Wan-soo's husband from joining them under the pretense of business. That evening, Seo Do-yoon escorted Oh Wan-soo back to her room. Oh Wan-soo hugged him from behind, filled with regret. At this critical moment, even though their feelings were mutual, Oh Wan-soo had to keep her emotions hidden until the situation settled. Later, the female bodyguard, following lawyer Han's orders, attempted to harm Oh Wan-soo and frame Seo Do-yoon by planting his fingerprints on the weapon. The bodyguard attacked Oh Wan-soo while Seo Do-yoon was outside. Oh Wan-soo managed to escape with great effort. Sensing something was wrong, Seo Do-yoon arrived in time and instructed Oh Wan-soo to jump out of the window. He then engaged the bodyguard in a fight. Both were equally skilled, but the bodyguard, wielding a knife, managed to injure Seo Do-yoon and kicked him onto glass. She then turned to capture Oh Wan-soo, who barely escaped into a yacht by the seaside, but was eventually found. The bodyguard pushed her down, causing her to hit her head and fall unconscious. Seo Do-yoon, chasing desperately, subdued the bodyguard and kicked her out of the yacht. Wounded, Seo Do-yoon fought the bodyguard with a knife, attacking fiercely and eventually injuring her as well. He kicked her into the sea, ending the threat. Exhausted and injured, Seo Do-yoon drove the yacht towards the open sea for safety. The next day, Seo Do-yoon woke up, checked that Oh Wan-soo was unharmed, and finally relaxed. Having survived a life-threatening ordeal, they embraced and passionately kissed. Back at their residence, Oh Wan-soo tended to Seo Do-yoon's wounds. Seeing his injuries, she felt deeply pained. They discussed the previous night's attacker, likely after the original ledgers. The mastermind behind the scenes was unclear, but it was certain that lawyer Han, the mother-in-law's confidant, had directed the secret funds back to her. Lawyer Han's actions suggested hidden motives. To gather more information, Seo Do-yoon suggested that Oh Wan-soo start by questioning her husband about his relationship with his younger brother, which was likely strained due to inheritance disputes. They also needed to uncover the truth behind her father-in-law's death. Soon after, her husband arrived. Oh Wan-soo briefly explained the previous night's events to him. Then, the couple participated in a magazine photo shoot. Afterward, following Seo Do-yoon's suggestion, Oh Wan-soo questioned her husband. She discovered that her brother-in-law was actually her mother-in-law's illegitimate child, unloved by his parents from childhood. Regarding the death of Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law, her husband only recalled it as a disgraceful incident and knew nothing else. Now, apart from lawyer Han, no one knew that Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law had made a will abroad. The will was set to be disclosed on a specific day. He had made these arrangements because he saw through lawyer Han's deceitful nature and knew that Oh Wan-soo's brother-in-law was actually the son of his wife and lawyer Han. Lawyer Han had used his connections to bribe the lawyer who drafted the will, revealing that a large sum of money under the father-in-law's name would eventually go to Oh Wan-soo's consortium. When Oh Wan-soo's mother-in-law learned about this, she decided to leak intimate photos of Oh Wan-soo and Seo Do-yoon to force a divorce, allowing her to control the consortium and the funds. Soon, the scandal of Oh Wan-soo's alleged affair was widely publicized. Seeing the news, her husband realized that his mother had arranged the tracking and release of the photos. Despite knowing about the relationship between Oh Wan-soo and Seo Do-yoon, he had no intention of leaving her. He had always resented his mother, having witnessed her affair with lawyer Han as a child. Despite this, his mother showed no remorse. This childhood trauma affected his view on love. He loved Oh Wan-soo but did not know how to nurture love, even viewing infidelity as not particularly heinous. The couple became increasingly distant. Overhearing their conversation, the lover realized that the husband's heart belonged only to Oh Wan-soo, leaving her feeling isolated and ridiculed. Heartbroken, she took their child and returned to her parents' home. Meanwhile, lawyer Han had Oh Wan-soo's brother released on bail to retrieve the original ledgers from Seo Do-yoon. Seo Do-yoon, now focusing on lawyer Han as a suspect, sneaked into his residence again. Last time, he had placed a surveillance device inside an alarm clock. Retrieving the memory card, he discovered the safe's combination through the video. After entering the correct numbers, he found many important documents inside the safe, including a trust certificate listing lawyer Han as the settlor and Oh Wan-soo's brother-in-law as the beneficiary. Seo Do-yoon speculated that lawyer Han's substantial support for Oh Wan-soo's brother-in-law suggested a father-son relationship. After photographing the documents, he quickly returned everything to its place and left unnoticed. Just as he left, Oh Wan-soo's husband arrived to speak with lawyer Han. Seo Do-yoon returned to his room and found it ransacked. Oh Wan-soo's brother had been ordered to find the original ledger. Earlier, Seo Do-yoon and Oh Wan-soo's brother had agreed to use the ledger to expose the mastermind behind the scenes. Worried about retaliation, the brother warned Seo Do-yoon that if something happened to him, Seo Do-yoon should go see his wife, where he had left something important. Now Seo Do-yoon was sure that lawyer Han was the criminal mastermind, but he needed solid evidence to bring him down. Oh Wan-soo's husband had also suspected that lawyer Han might have killed his father but lacked proof. During his visit to see lawyer Han, he confronted the fact that his brother was the illegitimate child of his mother and lawyer Han. Lawyer Han was a servant working for the family, and having a child with him was a lifelong shame for his mother. Hence, she was always cold to the other son. As for the brother, he knew who his real father was, but pretended otherwise, viewing lawyer Han merely as a servant. After speaking, the husband warned lawyer Han not to harm Oh Wan-soo, or he would make him pay. After leaving lawyer Han's place, the husband had Director Park bring Seo Do-yoon to him. Holding a rifle, he questioned Seo Do-yoon about any relationship with Oh Wan-soo. Seo Do-yoon denied it and explained his role as a bodyguard for Oh Wan-soo, mentioning that her father-in-law might have been murdered. Just then, Oh Wan-soo arrived, found her husband threatening Seo Do-yoon, and immediately grabbed the muzzle, pointing it at herself. She urged her husband to regain his senses and let Seo Do-yoon handle the investigation. Persuaded by Oh Wan-soo, her husband calmed down. 2 weeks later, the legal team entrusted by Oh Wan-soo's father-in-law arrived at the mansion and disclosed the contents of his will. He had 18 trillion won in assets, all donated to a foundation, with 16 trillion stored in a Swiss bank. Only Oh Wan-soo could withdraw the money by signing at the bank herself. At this, Oh Wan-soo's husband laughed while Oh Wan-soo traveled to Switzerland with her husband. Seo Do-yoon, left alone in the luxury house, accidentally bumped into a female bodyguard. She was a personal bodyguard assigned to Oh Wan-soo by her mother-in-law, skilled and agile. She quickly caught Seo Do-yoon's mineral water bottle with her left hand. In that moment, Seo Do-yoon felt that the female bodyguard resembled the person who had killed his friend, both in action and appearance. Seo Do-yoon became suspicious, suspecting her to be the killer, L. Meanwhile, the Oh Wan-soo couple arrived at a Swiss bank. After passing through multiple security systems, they finally met the executor of the grandfather's estate. Using biometric fingerprint identification, the executor confirmed Oh Wan-soo's identity and led them to the vault. Among the funds, 16 trillion Korean won was illegal secret money, and the remaining 2 trillion won was in illegal nominee accounts. To successfully withdraw the money, some maneuvers were necessary. The mother-in-law intended for Oh Wan-soo's husband to inherit this money and take over the conglomerate. The younger brother-in-law wanted to split it 3 ways. Only Oh Wan-soo's husband was clear-headed, according to the will. The money now belonged to Oh Wan-soo's conglomerate. Only Oh Wan-soo could use this money. The younger brother-in-law, only seeing the money, insisted on getting a share. If he did not get what he wanted, there would never be peace in the family. Oh Wan-soo's husband, unafraid of threats, calmly stated that their father might have been murdered and hinted that their mother and brother might know something. Upon hearing this, they were too shocked to speak. Oh Wan-soo's husband made it clear that he would not let his father's money fall into others' hands. The younger brother-in-law was furious and immediately consulted lawyer Han. Now, if Oh Wan-soo could just withdraw the money from the bank and disappear, he could inherit his father's estate. Lawyer Han agreed to help the younger brother-in-law, but remembered the past scene with fear. Oh Wan-soo's father was found in a pool of blood, and lawyer Han arrived to find the room in disarray and the younger brother-in-law standing by the body, panicked, holding a blood-stained gold bar, yet claiming his father had fainted. Lawyer Han told him to leave immediately and hide his whereabouts that day. When Chief Park was notified to clean up the scene, lawyer Han trembled with emotion, sobbing uncontrollably. Seo Do-yoon told the Oh Wan-soo siblings the truth that lawyer Han and the younger brother-in-law were father and son. The younger brother-in-law, being an illegitimate child without inheritance rights, targeted the conglomerate. Seo Do-yoon suspected that the mastermind behind the attempts on Oh Wan-soo might be this father-son duo. Seo Do-yoon warned Oh Wan-soo to be cautious of the personal female bodyguard sent by her mother-in-law, never to be alone with her, as she might be associated with lawyer Han, having sought opportunities to assassinate Oh Wan-soo since Manila. After discussions, Seo Do-yoon returned the stolen original ledger of the conglomerate to Oh Wan-soo's brother for handling. That evening, the brother informed Seo Do-yoon in advance that he had arranged a meeting with lawyer Han at a secluded spot by the river. Before Seo Do-yoon left, he noticed the suspicious female bodyguard also had to go out. Upon arriving at the river, Seo Do-yoon recorded the conversation with Oh Wan-soo's brother on his phone and secretly filmed the meeting using nearby surveillance cameras. Lawyer Han exchanged the ledger for a bank transfer. The brother wanted to ensure Oh Wan-soo's safety, but lawyer Han told him not to meddle and drove away. The next second, the brother was dead. Seo Do-yoon, taking advantage of the darkness, stabbed the assailant in the back. The attacker fought desperately to escape. Seo Do-yoon wanted to pursue, but seeing Oh Wan-soo's brother barely alive, he stayed to press on the wound and called for emergency services. Despite the doctor's efforts, Oh Wan-soo's brother could not be saved. Seo Do-yoon had suspected that the real identity of the killer was the female bodyguard who had repeatedly attempted to kill him and Oh Wan-soo. He just couldn't figure out who was behind it all. Upon hearing of her brother's death, Oh Wan-soo broke down in tears in front of Seo Do-yoon. At the same time, lawyer Han made a call to the prosecutor's office, reporting the Hwan Group and the conglomerate. Oh Wan-soo's mother-in-law, receiving a subpoena, was at a loss. Lawyer Han was unreachable until dawn. He returned and insisted in front of Oh Wan-soo's mother-in-law that it was Oh Wan-soo's brother who had handed the ledger to the authorities. She just needed to go to the prosecutor's office with him for a brief questioning. After the questioning, as they left the prosecutor's office, lawyer Han discussed the inheritance of the group with her, asking if their younger brother also had rights. Hearing this, the mother-in-law laughed, saying, "Who in the world would hand over a company to a mistress's child?" Lawyer Han smiled meaningfully and handed over the acquired ledger to the prosecutor, allowing the mother-in-law to be taken by the authorities. While the mother-in-law was being investigated, Oh Wan-soo attended her brother's funeral. After the funeral, the brother's will handed a USB drive to Seo Do-yoon, a task entrusted by her husband, containing tampered financial evidence of the conglomerate. That night, Seo Do-yoon secretly placed the USB in lawyer Han's safe and had the brother's will reported to the authorities, wanting them to find the evidence and convict lawyer Han. Soon after, prosecutors arrived at lawyer Han's residence, taking everything, including the safe with the USB. While the prosecutors were busy, Seo Do-yoon noticed the sneaky female bodyguard. He followed her to her room where she was preparing to flee. Seo Do-yoon, holding her at gunpoint, struggled with her. Wounded, the female bodyguard was no match for Seo Do-yoon, who subdued her. Tearing open her clothes, Seo Do-yoon saw a wound on her back that matched the knife wound he had inflicted on the killer that night, confirming she was the murderer of Oh Wan-soo's brother. Seo Do-yoon captured the female bodyguard and retrieved the USB drive containing the video of her killing Oh Wan-soo's brother. The wound on her back was enough to convict her. He handed her over to the police. As she struggled, she looked up and saw lawyer Han on the second floor. Following her gaze, Seo Do-yoon confronted lawyer Han and confirmed he was the mastermind behind the bodyguard. Lawyer Han, calm, told Seo Do-yoon to come at him and left laughing, having already planned his escape route. Lawyer Han dug up blood-stained gold bars from the yard and brought them to Oh Wan-soo's mother-in-law, who anxiously awaited his help. However, lawyer Han was non-committal, claiming he was trying. The mother-in-law, sensing his attitude, realized he was the one who had implicated her. Angered by the betrayal, she criticized lawyer Han, who had lived comfortably thanks to her and now stabbed her in the back. Lawyer Han, offended by being called a servant, disliked her superior attitude. He had fathered her younger brother-in-law to see her reaction to having a child with a lowly servant. Lawyer Han presented the bloodied gold bars, the murder weapon used by the younger brother-in-law. If given to the authorities without revealing his paternity, the younger brother-in-law would be deemed the murderer. Otherwise, the affair between the mother-in-law and lawyer Han would be exposed. Lawyer Han offered her a way out. If she took the blame for hiring someone to kill Oh Wan-soo, he would keep their secret. Valuing her reputation, she silently admitted to the crime. Lawyer Han thought his plan was foolproof until the younger brother-in-law, going through a tumultuous divorce, tore up the agreement and refused to leave. Inheriting his mother's instability, he became enraged at slight provocations. He ordered all staff out of the house, fetched a shotgun from the basement, and aimed it at Oh Wan-soo's husband. Dissatisfied that his brother did not share the secret funds, he fired a warning shot. Hearing the gunshot, Oh Wan-soo left the mansion. Lawyer Han followed the sound to calm his son, who disrespectfully told him to leave. Oh Wan-soo's husband, amused, commented on the resemblance between father and son. Lawyer Han, tired of being treated as a servant, took the gun, intending to act himself. In the ensuing struggle, another gunshot was heard. Oh Wan-soo, outside, instinctively covered her head and returned inside. The younger brother-in-law picked up the gun and shot his brother twice. Oh Wan-soo, screaming, rushed to her husband, calling him husband, a term she hadn't used in a long time. Before his death, he confessed his love for Oh Wan-soo, unsure how to express it. He had decided to genuinely mend his relationship with her, cutting ties with his mistress by giving her 100 billion won as severance. If more was needed, he was willing to raise the funds. However, he ultimately lost the chance to stay by Oh Wan-soo's side. As he closed his eyes for the last time, Lawyer Han quickly plotted to pin the murder on Oh Wan-soo. He ordered his younger brother-in-law to leave the scene immediately and deleted the surveillance footage. After his son left, Lawyer Han called the police, calmly wiped the fingerprints from the gun, and then accused Oh Wan-soo of killing her husband. Oh Wan-soo was taken to the station for questioning. Seo Do-yoon arrived and persuaded the police to give him a few minutes with her. After Oh Wan-soo was taken away, Seo Do-yoon began searching for evidence. The surveillance had been formatted, but he ordered his men to find the younger brother-in-law, whose car was still in the parking lot and wasn't recorded leaving. Seo Do-yoon searched every room, noticed clothes caught in a wardrobe door, opened it, and pinned the younger brother-in-law to the bed, ensuring traces of gunpowder were still on his hands. Police detected gunpowder residue on his hands, and the deleted footage was restored, proving Oh Wan-soo was outside when the shots were fired. The evidence was conclusive, and the younger brother-in-law couldn't escape. Next, it was time to legally pursue Lawyer Han, who had meanwhile secured his position as a temporary executive of the Hwan Group by buying off shareholders. Seo Do-yoon analyzed the situation. The mother-in-law admitted to instructing the female bodyguard to attack Oh Wan-soo, proving a transaction between them. Assuming she wouldn't hand over a ledger she obtained through murder to the authorities, it must have been Lawyer Han who reported her after getting the ledger, proving the employment relationship with the bodyguard. Seo Do-yoon confronted Lawyer Han, pointing out that his needless reporting of the mother-in-law, intended to bring her down, actually exposed him as the employer of the bodyguard. Just then, the prosecutor arrived and took Lawyer Han away on charges of incitement to murder. The female bodyguard was confirmed to have killed Seo Do-yoon's friend and Oh Wan-soo's brother, and had also attacked Oh Wan-soo. Recently, the prosecutor opened Lawyer Han's safe and found the USB drive inside, which became evidence for his conviction. After settling everything, Seo Do-yoon submitted his resignation, and they embraced and said goodbye, each returning to their paths. Oh Wan-soo's mother-in-law was cleared of the murder-for-hire charge, but continued to face legal consequences for other crimes. During her release, she visited her younger son and told him about Lawyer Han's threats with the gold bars, warning him never to trust Lawyer Han. Furious, the younger brother-in-law confronted Lawyer Han, upset at being looked down upon because of his father and realizing Lawyer Han had betrayed him too. He intended to kill Lawyer Han but was restrained by prison guards. Seeing his son's hatred, Lawyer Han felt his life was a failure. A year later, Oh Wan-soo continued her global visits, using the conglomerate's money to aid the impoverished. She routinely traveled abroad with volunteers and encountered Seo Do-yoon at the airport. Starting today, he would join her in traveling to every corner of the world.